That
Because
works
I
for me.
think there's a breakdown between my division command. So maybe me being on the scene, be able to get them to move.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, sorry. All right, update. So Hood's division rushes down the hill, crosses the stream, and up the other side into the Devil's Den. All the while, the Union are shooting down after them. Your efforts to rally and stop their flight so far have not succeeded. Um, there's still lots of gunfire on Big Round Top to the south and to the east. Um, Anderson's divisions now come under fire on the flank. You receive a dispatch from the north from Walker's division that his division's broken. He's unable to come south as ordered.
Okay, and the main line wasn't able to retreat because they got fixed in position.
Yeah, they. Yep.
All right, so I'm going. Okay, Lee. I guess. Okay, Lee. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the main line. I'm just gonna full on try to get them moving westwards at whatever cohesive way they make it a fighting retreat instead of a route. And we're not gonna worry about Devil's Den anymore. Our next rally point is just the main road. What's the road called? Emmitsburg Road.
Hmm.
There's the turnpike at Emmitsburg Road potentially here. And
The road we came up.
I'm just gonna the so the two batteries and the two divisions remaining are so all start heading westward as they can. Fighting retreat. The one, if I can dispatch the division at Big Round Top, which I assume I can because I got a dispatch from them. They are going to hold position at Big Round Top as long as possible, but they are free. The division commander has got leniency to free to retreat out of it southwestwards if necessary through the woods to try to lose the Union at his discretion.
Okay.
I'll be moving my HQ to the main line to try to keep that as organized and get them moving. I'll leave up to Lee what he wants to do.
Um, I'm gonna help with the main line because I think that's the priority.
We should probably inform Jackson that things are not going too well.
I did already send a.
Okay, okay.
I've been on it with the what you call it.
Hopefully we can get them moving this time because this is not looking good for anyone. North and the south have both broken at this point. There's no point. Then
All right, General Jackson, you ride north to quite a sight.
No
Um,
kidding.
so just as you arrive, Ewell is deploying his division as they come under fire from uh, the Sixth Corps, Union Sixth Corps. Meanwhile, Union
Hmm.
cavalry are on your left, trying to attack Ewell's flank. Luckily, D.H. Hill's there and exchanging fire with them. And to the east, you can see fleeing Union infantry, and to the north, a lot is going on. Um,
Yeah. Uh, D.H. Hill is to sweep to the northwest aggressively until he is in a line facing north with General Ewell. It's just cavalry. He should be able to carry that before him easily. Um, Lee's cavalry brigade is to ride around the southern edge of Evergreen Cemetery until they are astride the Baltimore Pike. Then they are to dismount and fire into the flank of that 6th Corps Division. Ewell is to continue engaging them in front. My artillery is to advance, unlimber, and begin shelling the 6th Corps targets as available, um, with preference to if with preference to either um, the division engaging Ewell if possible, or if that would be shooting through friendlies. The division that looks like it's already been bloodied pretty badly on the southern outskirts of town. And if they can't hit that, then just to blast the hell out of the cavalry.
okay. Got it. Thank you.
You got it.
All right, General Stewart.
Yes.
Let's see.
Uh,
So you AP Hill's division, along with Munford's brigade, moves south to attack the far right wing of the Union line, and that seems to be going well. Um, to the north, Hampton reports back to you that Jackson is heavily engaged with something up north, and that he can see Union soldiers fleeing eastward to his east. And Stonewall's brigade still resting and recovering. Um, you do hear word from AP Hill and Stonewall that it looks like Walker's brigade of Longstreet's division is breaking and fleeing, which leaves a gap in the line.
Order Stonewall's brigade to fill the gap that Walker's uh, division is making because it's falling him breaking. So I want Stonewall to get into the fight and as quick as possible. Recall Hampton back south and to form up alongside Munford and to have AP Hill units to push the attack on the Union's flank as much as possible. And I need my artillery. Can my artillery fire from Brown's farm or no? I doubt it.
No, it could. There's a slight ridge it can shoot from.
Okay, so order the artillery onto that ridge and order it to begin firing on the 2nd Corps, 4th Division.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
That is it for now. Thank you.
Franklin is kind of linked up with Grant. So the army is divided into two pieces, but the Confederate army is mauled. The British have very little incentive to launch a heavy pursuit, especially considering that their cavalry was pretty heavily engaged.
Yeah, it's a British Confederate victory. I say Confederate, but like largely as a British victory politically. It's not a decisive war-winning victory, and any battle that's not a decisive war-winning battle in this war for the Confederates is a Union victory for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
Or at least operations ending.
Well, we'll see, actually. I mean, I think that winning this, even if the Confederates being mauled like this, does give strategically the British want to move on Washington, and they have the navy to siege it. So I think that's just the next natural move, and the real question is whether they can take it or not, and force Lincoln to capitulate. I don't think Lincoln evacuates the capital.
How many?
No, I think there's still probably enough forces in the capital that he can just throw us an army.
Given this is given the circumstances, post-Second Bull Run, Hooker's only grabbed 3 of his corps. Like for the Antietam campaign, historically, he grabbed like 4 more than that. I feel like there's still probably 100,000 men, maybe not quite that, but pretty close in Washington right now.
Worst case scenario, there's like 70,000.
Yeah.
I think a siege is what happens. They try to starve them out in Washington.
How many?
They have the capability to starve them out.
How many British redcoat casualties are considered too many?
How many you have?
So are we counting casualties or disruption?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Casualties.
Wait,
Well,
there's
I mean,
one
casualty
British
count.
casualty mark. There's 1 British casualty counter. 1 unit has broken at 7. All of the Canadians read it, but I'm given to understand they don't count.
No, Canadians don't count.
These cav, yeah.
Well, I would consider the British regulars kind of been.
We have
Consider
been
them what?
south, James.
Yep.
Cool.
Hey, Panzer, are these guys attacking?
Oh yes, yes they are. How
Everything north of the blue line.
Sure. So if they were in musket range and they backed up, does it seem reasonable that they could advance at the same speed and remain in musket range?
I would say the Union would probably start running faster.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Their guns got ordered to pack up, so they packed up.
This is just
Shouldn't be-
cosmetic firing. It's probably not actually firing.
Finley
Ooh.
just trying so hard to get personally.
Well, of course he is. Are we shocked by this?
No.
All right, there goes another one of Grant's troops.
Oh my.
Most of the Army of the Tennessee is getting pretty banged up right now. Worse than Shiloh.
Almost like
Um,
armies of citizen militia and conscripts don't hold
what's
up
it-
to
what's
properly
going on
trained
here?
European
Are
armies.
these guys attacking, McPanther?
They're shooting. They're not attacking. They're not going anywhere.
Okay.
They didn't get any orders.
That's
Evan, what happens to be the British war
oh my god.
aims at this point?
Sorry, what was the war aims?
Yeah,
they-
war aims for the
They
British.
their immediate goal is to they really do want to force the Union to separate out. They're willing to let the Confederacy be smaller. You know, they just want another large power in North America to balance out the United States, and preferably one that they can influence because they help them out. Back in the past. Then they don't have anyone to threaten Canada. They don't have anyone threatening their sea dominance.
Yeah, what was the British casus belli? Was it the Trent affair?
Yeah, the Trent affair. Yeah.
Okay.
Although that was just an excuse that they used, to do a little more calculated approach.
I mean, yeah, but the thing is, Lincoln may
If I time out for 1 second.
Split.
Pause the conversation.
Kermit, do I need to do anything up here?
Nope.
Great, thank you. Carry on. Apologies.
Might try to force some kind of split because the British don't exactly have freedom of maneuver. It is a democracy over there.
No, it is true. It's true, and the prime minister is a little pressed in that regards. He is taking a calculated gamble for the empire.
Yeah.
We good for screenshots, I presume?
Yep. At least in the south, yeah.
So that's why I was hoping for a quick war. If it takes longer than I'd say 6 months to a year, British are probably just going to slowly just kind of come to an agreement.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is probably going to result in some kind of siege of Washington, and that Washington is very heavily defended at this point, especially considering that McClellan didn't.
All right, gentlemen, you head down the farm road back to the Emmitsburg Road to safety, and as you do so, you receive report after concerning report of basically the whole of Longstreet's corps being broken and routed, and you can see it with your own eyes as Walker's division and Hood's division and Jones' division are all streaming westward. It looks like Anderson's and McLaw's division have broken as well. If there is good news, it's that Jackson seems to be holding in the north from what you can tell, and that's about it.
Okay, can I order? I can't order, but can I try to attempt to get my men to route in a northwesternly direction, if possible, away from the enemy that would outflank them in the south?
Sure.
No, it's not very realistic, but I'll try to talk to what officers, I guess, to try to get them running in a better direction.
Well, they'll route to safety. So if it's unsafe a certain direction.
Okay. I like say a rally point potentially. Just no
Where do you want
run with them.
Where do you want to try and
I would say
A Trussell.
to run behind, try to be behind Jackson's line. Hopefully, would be the rally point.
Okay.
So J. Smith Farm, maybe.
At J. Smith Farm.
Okay.
Would be the rally point for everyone. Try to get the word out to as many officers, then get
Let me let
as many
Jackson
men.
know.
To just the regroup position is the farm.
Got it. All right, thank you. All right, General Jackson. The enemy is stubborn. So your artillery have unlimbered and are joining the fight. Fitz Lee is joining on the right flank, and to your surprise, you see British cavalry and troops joining in the fight on your right as well.
A welcome surprise, to be sure. All right, let's go for the throat. I want D.H. Hill to carry that our Union artillery battery straight to the north of him. I frankly don't care too much about that cavalry. There's not much they can do in that condition. I'm going to personally go in with Ewell to assault with the bayonet the flank of that 6th Corps brigade, to try and assault on the flank of that 6th Corps brigade or a division, straight up the Taneytown Road, which is going to sort of involve like a slight wheel, if you can see what I mean. I want to drive them in and smash them against that British division on the other side of Cemetery Hill.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. All right, General Stewart. You recall Hampton down south, who rides down the road. Him and his men dismount, and the men move into the woods onto Munford's left flank and join the fight against the Union. Soon after, you receive a report that the Union 4th Division, 2nd Corps is routing and breaking, and you're starting to roll up their flank.
Okay.
You hear word from Jackson's Corps, the Stonewall Division, that Longstreet's Corps is breaking and that his flank is in the air, except for some of Longstreet's artillery that are on his flank. But it appears that Longstreet is no more.
Alright, so this is going to be a little ballsy of me, but we're going to go for it. Hampton's units are to remount and to push to charge the 4th Division's flank. I repeat, they are to mount and to charge the 4th Division's flank.
Okay.
Munford is to continue opening fire onto the 4th Division as they retreat. A.P. Hill is to commence a bayonet charge against the 4th Division, as well as attacking the flank of the artillery of the 2nd Corps, if possible. With assistance of Munford's brigade. I want Munford's brigade and A.P. Hills to charge the 4th Division as they are breaking, as well as to roll up the flank even further. That's what we're going to do.
Okay.
We're going to end this here.
Got it.
James, is this a bayonet charge?
Where?
Jackson on Cemetery Hill?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm rolling that though.
Okay. Just making sure, because those guys were supposed to fall back. But they won't be. What do we feel? If these guys were told by a different army, somebody that wasn't in charge of them, to pull back, I feel like they kind of would, because just given the whole situation.
Well,
Uh,
yeah, they
I'm
would.
gonna exercise
they're getting
discretion on
routed.
that.
But it was Franklin with Jackson, or with that unit.
Yes, they were.
Ooh, let's see who dies at the very end of the game. Ah, Franklin dies. All right.
Oh no!
Well, Franklin's dead.
Good riddance.
Franklin's dead.
Oh no.
One time he steps on the
Oh,
front
that's
line,
awful.
instantly dies.
Now Union command and control has improved.
What do you mean?
Franklin is awful. Okay. He
What
he lost
in our
to
timeline
50
or-
guys in a mud fort.
In our timeline, yeah.
Okay.
Well, now he's not gonna be a problem to anyone anymore.
What's happening here?
Yeah.
Is this like square formation?
Yeah,
No,
let's
they're getting. I just kind of haphazardly threw them down there, but these guys think that they're routing. They sort of are. I know they're not technically routing at the moment, but they think that they're routing, and were ordered to run down the routing dudes. I think they might. Well, that's the side of a hill. That's not going to work. But I think they're going to get hit.
I mean, they're kind of routing. Like,
They're just
they're
barely
kind of routing
recovered.
now.
They'd probably
Yeah,
rout
one-
again.
Kind of route.
yeah, one stiff wind, and that's it.
I mean, I feel like, given how engaged the British cavalry are, I feel like they're able to present enough of a front. They don't really charge them all the way down, you know?
I don't know. Like, if they were not wavering and had already taken casualties and were hitting the flank, I would agree with you. But because they are wavering, have taken casualties, and were hitting the flank.
I mean, I don't know. I've seen these units over here, like in this position, pretty much for a couple of turns. I don't know if the counters just haven't been updated.
Also, this cavalry has launched like 5 attacks. I don't know if they're
probably
feeling
spent too, yeah.
aggressive.
That's true. They've charged once. They've skirmished a couple times. So, here, let's route one of them and call it a day.
Leave the
Are we
rest.
at? Or is this the? Are we at the end of the battle here?
Yeah.
Okay,
The
cool.
first
The
division
problem
of the
is, like-
First Corps screens the retreat of the entire Army of the Potomac.
But see, here's where it kind of matters. It's not going to matter for the outcome, but just for the players. If the chain route rules are real, all of those guys are gone.
Yeah,
That's true.
panic just spreads.
Right.
They missed.
Here, I'll
They hit a
throw
5. Are you? That's just sad.
here. Move them away, and I'll throw the cat.
Okay, that was all the combat up there. Okay. I thought there was gonna be more. Couple cannon shots.
So, Kevin, are you saying it's a Confederate British
Well,
victory?
I think it's a British victory.
Yeah, British victory. Jackson's still standing.
But yeah, technically that side, does win. But
I guess.
yeah, long.
Oh yeah, the Confederate army is like gone.
Well, Longstreet is.
Burnside is strong enough, just enough to form a rear guard to let the remnants of Hooker's command escape here. At least the ones that are near him. The rest of these might flee back towards Baltimore. And Grant seems to be, I guess, in decent enough shape to pull back, but he's not a threat anymore.
All right, well,
Ironically, Grant has ended the battle with more troops because Franklin and the 6th and 12th Corps retreated towards him.
That's funny.
So he's gonna end the battle with like a third of the Army of the Potomac with him.
That's funny.
Grant did a really good job at the end. I wish he had done different things at the beginning, but there's no way he could have known.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin. You'll get first dibs at explaining what happened and the outcome of it, and
Oh my goodness.
you can do it.
I'm scared.
Go ahead and bring everyone to the lobby.
Okay, let's do it.
Ooh. Oh boy.
Oops.
Whoa. GG. GG indeed.
Very much GG.
Ah,
All
Is that
right.
everyone?
That
Yep.
was a good game.
Welcome everyone. So Kevin, our lead umpire and game creator, he's gonna go first. So take it away, Kevin. Oh, let me share my screen.
Do I just go give a broad overview of what?
Overview of what happened, and then what's the long-term
Outcome.
implications
Yeah.
given your fictional scenario.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us, playing us. Essentially, we had what might have been 2 engagements to the south and to the north. I would say with some crossover as things progressed. But essentially, we had 4 different armies coming in from different sides. The Army of Northern Virginia was coming from the southwest. The Army of Potomac was coming from the southeast. The British Army, or the Expeditionary Force, was coming in from the northeast, and then Grant's Army was coming in from the far northwest here, in a very strange sort of amalgamation of a conflict between these 4 armies. And that was your setup. That was what everyone came into. In the north, the British came in with put those brave Canadian volunteers up front. With Colonel Wolseley. Good job, Colonel Wolseley. And basically engage, I think, Franklin down here. Right here is coming up the Baltimore Pike.
Yep.
And that didn't end so well for the volunteers before Grant came in here. And then you had this whole British Grant Franklin fight that was just going on. I don't know how that went. I think that was kind of stalemated for a little bit. And then down south here, the Army of Northern Virginia got a pretty good jump on the Army of Potomac using the round tops to hide their forces as the Union was marching north, and as a result managed to actually strike them pretty hard, especially on Hooker's Corps, which was leading in the north here, and eventually managed to break many of Hooker's forces except for a small remnant, which allowed for, I think, Jackson's Corps to move up a portion north and flank dear old Franklin facing the British, and that just basically crumbled this entire segment right here to the south and southeast of Gettysburg. Just that entire flanking maneuver. For the Union's part, McClellan, leading Burnside's command in the south, did manage to flank around via Big Round Top into Longstreet's forces and break the line there, and forcing the Confederates to withdraw from that area. But Hooker has lost a significant portion of his command. Franklin has lost a good portion of his command, and Franklin, I think, has retreated a portion of his command west. So Grant is now actually has a larger army than before, if I'm not mistaken, that he started with. So that's interesting. But ultimately, I believe that this is a British Confederate victory, maybe more of a British victory, given the state of the British Army. Canadians don't count. They
Okay.
Yeah,
They count,
sorry.
right?
They maybe count a little bit,
Get
but
the wreck, baby.
the British have significantly managed to preserve their force over anyone else really on this map, except maybe Burnside's command. As a result, the Union Burnside does form a rear guard to protect what he can of this force right here as they retreat back towards Washington. Some of these guys do get captured or surrender to British cavalry, but there's not enough forces here to really just bag all of them. So the Union does have a portion that does retreat to Washington, and Grant has to retreat back northwest, separated from the rest of the Army of the Potomac. I think this does lead ultimately to a siege of Washington by both the British and the Confederacy, and the goal being, can Washington be? Can they force Washington to surrender before the British goodwill runs out in 6 months to a year? And that's a tale for another time.
All right, thank you, Kevin.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say no.
Yeah, it was a very fun scenario. I appreciate Kevin coming up with it and setting it all up. So I'll talk for my piece. I had the Confederate Southern Force and ran the combat on the south side. So that's what I'll speak to because that's all I know. So the Confederates came up this road, and I don't know what they knew, actually. I didn't pay enough attention to the briefing, but basically their plan was to move east immediately and kind of secure the ridge line here with the round tops, which they did, and they caught the Union by surprise as they were marching north. And so Longstreet basically held a line kind of along here, along the ridge, pretty good position. And basically, I think he fought off about twice his number, but ultimately succumbed to it. Probably the biggest mistake is he had one division that was had just barely reached the top of Big Round Top, and then he'd ordered them back west, and so they left the hilltop right when the Union started moving up there, and so because it wasn't held, the Union, I think Burnside's division, was able to get on his flank and basically ultimately roll it up. So that was one mistake, leaving that open and sending those men who just barely trudged up that hill back down and then back up again. Jackson did a great job. Moving up to the north, getting on Hooker's flank, and then ordering an aggressive bayonet charge at the right time and breaking Hooker. And then he ended up having a powwow with Stuart and splitting his forces with Stuart. He went north and fought off, I think, Franklin's corps to the north, with in the end with the help of the British, and then Stuart directed his cavalry and some of Jackson's cavalry here. I didn't have the Union reporting to me, so I won't talk about how they did. But overall, pretty well handled. Maybe one thing I saw, at least at Longstreet's side, is there's basically no reserve. So you had a nice, strong position, but once you had holes in the line, there's nothing to plug them with, and so your whole corps eventually broke pretty quickly as a result. So think about having at least a division in reserve so you can plug gaps and last longer. Maybe cycle troops even. Other than that, good job, Confederates, and we'll go to the next umpire. So looking down the list, Umpire Kermit.
Awesome. Okay, so I had 2 Union players. I had Grant's Army of Tennessee, and I had Franklin's 6th and 12th Corps. Ironically, they started the battle on opposite ends of the map, with Grant coming in from the northeast and northwest, sorry, and Franklin coming in from the southwest. And they have ended the battle together. So they basically crossed the map. Grant, he had a pretty simple job, pretty simple plan as well. He basically just came in from the northwest, spotted the British, pressured them. He went for an attack. It didn't go too well, but I think he did a good job in pulling back and has now formed this good defensive posture. He came off worse in the engagement against the British, but I think he will hold long enough to be able to withdraw. Franklin was in a really rough spot because he originally established a wonderful defensive position here on Colston Cemetery Hill and slaughtered all of the Canadians, basically. And then launched a counterattack, which ran into British regulars. And then at the worst possible moment, up comes Jackson with a terrible flank that Franklin was not made aware that Hooker had been forced back and was not expecting that at all. So Franklin managed to do some very lucky and crazy maneuvers. He immediately starts pushing his force this way through a tiny little gap, basically between where the British are and where the Confederates are. and actually did manage to get most of his corps through that gap before, as you can now see, it closed. And he tragically died in the last turn trying to urge his men to not run away too hard, but they got stuck in a bayonet charge from Jackson. I think Franklin was very much the anvil this game, and I think he did fantastic with what he did, and I think Grant also did a fantastic job in doing what he did with, I think, one of the smallest commands of this entire battle. So kudos to both of them.
All right, thank you. Kevin, we've heard. McPanzer.
Sure. So I had all of the Brits. I'm kind of tired, so forgive me if I don't make a very eloquent speech. They came in from the northeast corner of the map, and we were kind of surprised that they put the Canadian conscripts or militia, I should say, volunteers, at the front of their column. Most of you guys had units that started at 3, which represents confident. The British were mostly high-spirited, 2. And the Canadians start at 5. So you rout at 7. So you take 2 hits and those guys are done. And they're not the most stable of troops. So of course the British put them at the front of the column and then immediately pushed them into a meat grinder to, I guess, jam up the gears of Franklin's 2 corps. And it worked, but it got a whole lot of Canadians killed. I think the decisive part of it was that them dying gave the British regulars, and crucially their guns, enough time to deploy in a line, and Franklin ordered an attack against their position right as they got set up. For a close-range canister fire, I really think disassembled one of Franklin's corps over the course of an hour. So good job to the Canadians. The other British players did a good job. I don't think there was a whole lot of bold maneuvering to do north of Gettysburg, but Evans did a very good job of keeping the flank held down and pushing back Grant. And then these 2 cavalry squadrons down here are actually an entire player's command, and he did a very good job of scouting in the beginning. He launched a single charge, did a little bit of skirmishing across Rock Creek, and then noticed a stream of fleeing Union and ran some of them down to take some POWs. So GG, good job. I think the British had a simple plan. They executed it well, if callously, and they deserve the win.
All right, thank you. Puzzle was our dispatch umpire. Any comments on the dispatches? I'll take that as a no. All right, Sean Mack.
Yeah, so I would say I was Union and Confederate cavalry. I would say both players did pretty well once they got into the swing of things. I would say both of them probably made some mistakes. I think Pleasanton at times lost situational awareness, which is understandable because he was dropped in to the command because the original Pleasanton player didn't show up. And then I will say one thing that Stuart did that I thought was highly ill-advised is he took 2 brigades and his artillery with him when he went to go talk to General Lee. And I don't think that was a very valuable use of resources. That was probably a waste. I would say the Union probably could have used better communication. It felt like there were times where Pleasanton wasn't clear on what he was supposed to be doing, and I don't think he received any updated orders throughout the game, so he had to mostly improvise. So I think that would be something to improve upon.
All right, thank you, Sean Mack. All right, now every player has a chance to share their thoughts, and we'll start with the CICs, which I guess we had 4-ish. So let's start with the British, who I think was Rose, General Rose.
Hello. Yes. Well, I have to thank my subordinates. We did great. British victory. Well, we had a very basic plan. Go southwest on the road, cross the stream, and then head south to the hills, and hopefully link up with the Confeds. That last part didn't work out. You already surmised that the plan with the Canadians was basically get them into the meat grinder first, because I was allowed to lose them. I had to preserve the regulars, according to my briefing. So that's what I did. Very careless, not very nice of me, but effective. And then we just kind of formed a rogue drift position. Just let the Union come to us. And that worked out very well. And then there was not a lot of maneuver we can do. I have to recommend my cavalry officer, who did very, very well. Holding up the Union cavalry as long as he did, so we could get into position, closing the line, then flanked the Union attack over the river, and then came back over the river and charged down any Union troops that he got before his horses. Very good job. Well, that was all. Thank you to the umpires. Thank you, Kevin. That was a great scenario, and I had a blast.
Thanks. All right, let's hear from General Grant.
Yeah, so I was coming in from the northwest. I didn't have a very big command, and I was kind of walking in a little blind. I had a vague idea of our plan was that most of the army was going to go after the Confederates first, and we were just going to try and delay the British until until the Confederates were defeated. So I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to walk in behind. I almost assumed that there would already be battle lines drawn. I didn't realize we were all arriving at the same time. So when I came in and I almost immediately reached Gettysburg unhindered, I was a little surprised, and then I came upon the British force. And from there, it was very touch and go of I'm basically trying to get I was trying to get the British to attack me so that I could fall back to Seminary Ridge, which would be a much better position to fight them from. One thing I did note that was a bit frustrating for me was that the British divisions are much smaller than my own in frontage. So whenever one of my divisions came into contact with a British division, they would really be coming into contact with two of them and be severely outgunned. That's not to say that the British didn't deserve this win, because they very much did, and they very much kicked my butt, especially in the middle. So well deserved, and thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's see. Down in the south, we'll go with Lee left. McClellan, are you still here? Yep, McClellan.
I just want Mac to know I was telling Pleasanton to be in the South from the get-go. I knew that I needed the cavalry because I knew I was going to win the South regardless, but I wanted it to be quicker so I could deal with the British. And I wanted my cavalry down there the entire time because I didn't want the Confederates to bypass us at all, right? Because I saw Franklin was up there holding, and they eventually came down and they managed to catch him coming up the road, but by that point it was too late. And Hooker, the rest of Hooker Corps was getting routed from the cavalry outflank, but I couldn't do anything about that because I was wrapping up Longstreet. So like I knew how it was going to turn out, and I had a whole fresh corps that was going to go up to reinforce you guys, but you know, things got called early. and the British Dragoons definitely took out Hooker's men as they were recovering. So that was a pretty good call on their part. Not gonna lie, pretty upset about this loss, but I can see how it is a loss for the British turning out the win. So I'm definitely not including the Confeds in that. I wiped the floor with you guys. It's a British win. I'm not giving it to the rebels.
All right. All right, let's go down the list with all the other players. Starting with Colonel Woolsey, I think, Chinleaf, the Canadians.
Whenever you're playing the Canadians in a war game, just know that they're overpowered. So I was very happy when General Rose said I was the first one in combat, but when I got my first screenshot before the game, the way my jaw dropped when I saw that my men were the weakest, it was unbelievable. But I still carried the entire British army and had them gave them time to set up in the north while delaying the Union in the south. So I would argue this is the Canadian victory.
All right. Thank you. Franklin.
Yes, yeah, I was the one to meet the Canadians on the field first. Handed them their butt on a silver platter, I think. What came immediately after that, though, was not good. I believe at some point I ordered 3 divisions to charge the rear of a British regular division, and that ended up with 2 of my divisions almost routing, I think. So that was rough. Then the British cavalry appeared across Rock Creek, and then the Confederates appeared from the south, and that was just not good. That was it. I think that's when it collapsed. I would have appreciated anything coming from the south after like 10 o'clock, but I mean anything like dispatches coming from the south, but oh well. Yeah, it's very unfortunate that I died at the end, but I'm confident my men will do well in Grant's hands later on.
All right. Let's see. General Jackson.
Yeah, so our job was to march into the Little Round Tops, and then we kind of got there, not even really, when suddenly there's Yankees everywhere. Got my men into line, put myself at the head of the Stonewall Division, fixed bayonets, and sent General Hooker back the way he came. Then split my command in half and gave half of it to Stewart to try to keep the Yankees under control, and took the other half to carry out my last set of orders, which was to find the British, which I did, and then pitched into Franklin's rear. So as far as I'm counting it, it's Union Corps 2 for the Confederacy, and yeah, you beat Longstreet, but I think we did our part.
All right. Longstreet.
All right, so the initial Confederate plan for my part was, Jackson was explaining, was to take Skeleton Ridge, take Little Round Top, and take Big Round Top. And I think I did pretty good for the first half of this battle and holding those positions and doing decent damage to the Union. The issue came in, and which also pointed out here by James, is I had no reserves. I was stretched pretty thin. The one reserve I was planning on having was actually the division at Big Round Top, which I pulled out because it was a mistake. But everyone was saying, in fairness, that it would be unlikely that I'd be attacked that route. But yeah, I pulled it out the most inopportune time, right when the Union was coming up, and had to order them back there. So I was completely stretched thin, and I just wasn't able to effectively reform my lines or retreat. I think I could have done a lot better in delaying. I don't think I could have won that engagement, to be honest, but I think I could have done better in trying to reform and delay the Union longer. That was my objective in the second half, but I just failed completely to effectively reform. But I think I did decent enough for delaying what I did delay at the very least.
All right. Pleasanton?
Good evening, gentlemen. For me, like, I struggled a lot because I kind of jumped in first in the reserve, then as Burnside, then as Pleasanton, filling an unfulfilled role. I wasn't completely clear on what was needed from my division, so I definitely improvised and did the best that I could do. Um, I think we did well enough, but I mean, I think without a clear objective or like need for the division, like I don't know if we were as effective as we could have been. We made some pretty effective supporting actions against the initial British advance into Gettysburg, and we supported Grant's forces as well, trying to hold the town. And I think we did fairly well overall in terms of maximizing our, KDR, I guess you could say. But I'm not sure if we were as effective as we could have been in terms of like who we were in terms of our composition, our general disposition, I guess you could say. So it's a good battle. I think we had some good communication, good coordination, but I think that this particular cavalry division could have done better with more clear direction.
All right. Stuart?
So, I kind of was the same thing as Patterson. I came in as a backup, and then I was told, okay, I'll be in charge of Stewart's division. So my main goal at the beginning was pretty much try to scout around, and I did at the beginning find the Union quite quickly and reported it in at the beginning of the game. So was mostly helping with scouting, but eventually met up with Jackson's division, and we worked together in trying to figure out what we could do on the flank of the Union south. And pretty much I just fought in the flank most of the battle and trying to roll up their flank as much as possible throughout the whole battle. So yeah, I was pretty much more on the flank of anything to try to help. That's pretty much it.
All right. That's everyone. Everyone else had to leave. Thank you for playing. Thanks again, Kevin, for designing and preparing the game. And very fun. It was enjoyable. And thanks to all the umpires for helping and everyone for playing. We'll see you next week.
Thank James for
Thank
being
you so much.
the head umpire here. Appreciate it.
Have a good one. Thanks again. Good game.
As always, you're welcome to hang out and keep